Today we are going to talk about diabetes. For years we have been told that diabetes is caused by too much sugar. Avoid sweets, cut down on desserts, stay away from sugary drinks. But what if one of India's biggest diabetes problems isn't just what we are eating, it's what we are not eating. A new scientific study now suggests that India's diabetes problem is simply because we are not eating enough fruits. A diet low in fruits is the single biggest dietary contributor to type 2 diabetes. That finding sets India apart from much of the rest of Asia. In China, diet rich in red meats are driving diabetes. In Japan, processed meat is a major concern. But India's challenge is fundamentally different. Experts say that our diets are dominated by refined carbohydrates like polished rice and refined wheat, while being deficit in fruits, whole grains, fiber and quality proteins. Research by Indian Council of Medical Research has already shown that India derives 62% of their daily calories from carbohydrates. India's diabetes epidemic is not just about eating too much. It is also about missing the foods that protects us. Perhaps the most striking finding is that many Indians with diabetes deliberately avoid fruits because they fear the natural sugar they contain. Doctors say this misconception has become widespread. In reality, whole fruits provide fiber, antioxidant, vitamins, and several bioactive compounds that support better metabolic health and may actually reduce diabetes risk when consumed appropriately. So, the big question: have we become so focused on avoiding sugar that we have ignored the nutritional gaps in our own diet? And if low fruit consumption is indeed a major driver of diabetes, is it time to fundamentally rethink the way India approaches diabetes prevention? On this issue, I am joined by Dr. Geetika Chopra. She is a nutritionist. I am also joined by Dr. Rahul Parashar, endocrinologist. He joins me from Kailash Hospital. I will be also joined by Dr. Meenakshi Jain, internal medicine, director, Max Hospital. We will have a longish conversation with all of you. Welcome to this show. And let me begin by asking Dr. Rahul Parashar, who is an endocrinologist. So, in 50s, cholesterol was the big villain. Then 70s, fat became the big villain. Then in 90s, sugar became the big villain. Then these pharma companies, these sweet industry made people believe that it is not about the processed food, it is about you exercising. So you can eat whatever bad stuff you want to, but if you exercise in morning, you will have a good life. My question to you is that is India looking at the same paradox, which is something called the French paradox? They will have their meat, they will have their wine, but they have the lower cardiovascular problem rate than the Americans. So what this new study is telling about fruit, why is fruit so important? I mean to say, can it impact our genetic makeup that we end up with diabetes? How do you look at this new data that has come up?
So definitely, to answer this question, I would like to address the basic nutrient components of our diet. So if you look at our Indian diet, so it is a very carbohydrate rich diet. So if you look at a typical meal pattern of an Indian, so an average Indian is eating a roti, 1 to 2 cups of rice along with 2 sabzi and a salad or something like that. So this in terms of endocrinologists, this is known as carbohydrate loading, because roti being a top contender for the carbohydrate rich food, along with add on top of rice, another carbohydrate rich food. So this is known as double carbohydrating. So this is typically leading to an increased amount of visceral fat. which is very important for South Indians. So if you look at the data, why the Western population they are considering South Indians or Southeast Asians or South Asians to be particularly at a very high risk of diabetes, because at the same level of weight and at the same level of BMI as compared to a Caucasian or a Western population individual, young individual, the South Asians they are having more amount of visceral fat in their body. So this visceral fat is the key driver of all the diseases that we are looking at today. And if you look at the fruits, so fruits they are the very neglected part of our diet. Why? Because cost is a very significant concern. Because everyone chooses a simple and an easily available option. You know the availability of the fast food chains throughout the online rapid delivery modes. So these things they give you easy access to a very what we call as HFSS, that is high fat, salt and sugar. HFSS foods they are easily available in your diet, and the most neglected part is the fruits. So fruits they are the very important source of antioxidants. These antioxidants they are preventing the cellular injury that is happening in the cells when a patient's cells are stressed via the poor lifestyle. So I believe that fruit should be incorporated into a person's lifestyle and his dietary pattern to avoid this damage that they are causing through the lifestyle.
Okay, let me take opening comments from Dr. Geetika Chopra, nutritionist. Suddenly we have come back to fruit in this new study. What is this fruit paradox, ma'am?
It's basically fruit has a lot of fiber. So I think the fiber part was missing, because of which this theory has come up. Because when you take fruit, one, the satiation is there, you feel satiety level goes high, the feeling of fullness is there, then the glucose spike doesn't happen, the insulin spike doesn't happen. So that's why fruit intake is very important. So it should be done, definitely, yes. Fruit intake, then protein levels should be high in the body. So this combination works.
Are you saying that the combination works, but then what about the theory of sucrose, fructose, the sugar going high? Then what were those theories are all about, madam?
Issue is that when we take a lot of processed foods and when we're taking a lot of fructose and sucrose, then the insulin spike will happen more. But when you're eating good fat and you're taking good fiber intake, when that is good, so the spike won't happen this much. Spike is basically happening majorly because of the junk food intake, because of the packed foods. If you take a banana, you will not get diabetes. But if you take a packet of chips, that can cause you diabetes, because indirectly the insulin spike is happening. So what we are trying to say is, now the issue with what comes up majorly is that the fruits are expensive, right? But you can take seasonal fruits. You can have bananas, you can have mangoes, watermelons, jamuns are easily available. So instead of buying an aerated drink, the better option is we can have a fruit. So
Okay.
that won't cause an insulin spike immediately.
Let me go across to Dr. Meenakshi Jan. Madam, this new study says that Indian diet lacks complex carbohydrates and fruits. It says very specifically. And it says it's a driving cause for diabetes. Like in China, it is meat. In Japan, it is processed meat. But in India, it's lack of complex carbohydrate in food. Can you please tell us that what does lack of complex carbohydrate in foods in a diet does to our body? And yes, please take time to explain what visceral fat is, which Dr. Rahul had earlier spoken about. A lot of people would like to know what visceral fat is.
He very rightly said, in India, diabetes incidence is rising. The prevalence of diabetes and prediabetes in India is rising markedly. The reason behind it is intake of refined sugar and lack of essential micronutrients. So the complex carbohydrate or the high low glycemic index food is what we need to take. So refined carbohydrate diet, which is rich in maida, and the kind of diet which is junk food, the chips, which the Dr. Gitika said, these are burgers, chips, colas in particularly, the fizzy drinks, and all these bottled drinks which are fizz drinks, all these fruit juices which have risen in India, and carbonated drinks, plus refined carbohydrate like pizza, burger, junk momos, pasta. These things are giving rise to diabetes in India. One is we are eating a refined carbohydrate, which is getting converted into the fat on the organ. See, the fat is there on two places. One is a subcutaneous fat, which is under the skin, which actually shows whether you are fat or you are lean. Second is the worst fat, which is the fat which gets deposited on organs like liver, heart, kidneys. So the liver fat is mainly the visceral fat, and liver is the area from which diabetes generates. Basically, metabolism gets affected if you are eating too much of refined carbohydrate and you are not eating enough of fruit, like you are not eating antioxidants. The foods are rich in antioxidants. Fruits like even all these colored food like plum, peaches, berries, capsicum, which are fibers, beans. These are good food, and these increase the antioxidant level in the blood, which helps in preventing diabetes. So, if you are wanting to prevent diabetes, you should eat fruit, you should eat complex carbohydrate. But if you are already suffering from diabetes, then the fruits which are rich in high glycemic index, like if you eat to all the serving of bananas, mangoes, the fruits which increase the sugar suddenly should be avoided. Fruits with high glycemic index can be avoided in diabetes, but fruits which have low glycemic index like guava, pear, jamun, peaches, apricot, plum, all these fruits are good for diabetes. So for diabetes, it is not a no-no for fruits. Most of us suffer from deficiency because we tell our patients that don't take fruit at all. It's not no fruits. So take fruits which have a low glycemic index. And if you want to prevent diabetes, you can eat whatever fruit you want. Just don't increase your weight. Your weight should not increase. Your carbohydrate, the calorie intake should not go up. But for preventing diabetes, it is fruit and complex carbohydrate and high protein diet is what we require. And visceral fat is very bad. Liver fat is very bad. Liver fat gives rise to so many other complications in the body.
Okay. First thing first. Now, when we say that 62% of the Indians are deriving their calories from simple processed carbohydrates, but our diet has been like this for 300 years, Dr. Rahul Prashar, roti, chawal, dal, sabzi, except maybe the consumption of oil has gone up, you have salted butter which is there, easy availability of perhaps sugar, good availability of salt, maybe good availability of condiments also which were not there 200 years ago, like for example sauces and all that. I mean to say, then why is this sudden spike? Why has India become the diabetes capital? 10 crore diabetes, 13.1 crore in pre-diabetes, 20 crores plus population, diabetic or pre-diabetic?
So definitely, Karthik ji. If the point that you have highlighted is very well taken, that our diet has simply been same for the past 300 years. I agree with that point. But you should also keep a fact in mind that how was that food prepared and how is the food prepared nowadays. So if the point Madam Meenakshi was highlighting, that refined carbohydrates. So what are these refined carbohydrates? होता क्या है कि जो गेहूं है, गेहूं की एक आउटर शेल है ब्रैन की. तो उस ब्रैन की शेल को जब हम रिमूव कर देते हैं और उसको एक बहुत ही बारीक पीस में बारीकी से पीसा जाता है, उसे बोलते हैं रिफाइंड कार्बोहाइड्रेट. बस इतनी सी बात है कि आज की जो फूड इंडस्ट्री है, इट इज़ वेरी वेल टेकिंग आउट दैट प्रोसेस्ड ब्रैन शेल को बाहर निकाल के वो उसको एक प्रोसेस्ड फॉर्म में जनरेट कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज इट इज़ ईजिली जनरेटेबल, because the consumption is so wide that they have to create in a so large amount that they have to meet the population demand as well. So because of that, the availability is increasing, and the availability of this refined food, what is happening is ये refined खाना खाने से होता क्या है, refined खाना खाया वो बनेगा फैट में, फैट स्टोर बहुत इजीली होगा, जो कि विसरल फैट में जाके स्टोर होगा हमारे साउथ एशियंस के कंपैरिजन में बॉडी पार्ट में. लेकिन जब हम बात करते हैं स्पेंड करने की, तो स्पेंड करने के टर्म्स में सबसे पहले लॉस होगा मसल का. जो कि हमारा sedentary lifestyle है. Sedentary lifestyle में muscle loss will be there, but fat loss will be at a later stage. So we are already putting our body at an increased risk. We are consuming a high refined food, and जो पहले नहीं था, पहले जो खाना था, जो चावल था, पहले जो दाल थी, पहले जो गेहूं था, उसकी क्वालिटी और जो गेहूं और जो चावल आज है उसकी क्वालिटी में बहुत ज़्यादा फर्क है. ये जो आपका क्वेश्चन था ये है उसका आंसर. एंड जो दूसरा पार्ट है कि वी आर, जो हमारा आज का लाइफस्टाइल है, इफ़ यू सी दैट वी ऑल हैव बिकम वेस्टर्नर्स. हमारा सब, हम ऑफिस वर्कर्स हैं, वी आर इन अ शिफ्ट वर्कर्स, हम सब ऑफिस में हैं पूरा दिन. ठीक है. सो हमारा सेडेंटरी लाइफस्टाइल, वी आर डूइंग जीरो फिजिकल एक्टिविटी. एंड मोर और सो इवन इफ वी आर डूइंग फिजिकल एक्टिविटी, दैट इज इन द टर्म्स ऑफ 30-45 minutes in a gym. So that is the maximum that youngsters are doing. But if you look at the elderly, they are not doing even that much. So they are accumulating energy and they are losing less. So हो क्या रहा है? So एक net increase of the energy surplus हो रहा है body में.
Okay, that's a very interesting point. Dr. Geetika, what I would like to know from you is, I understand the concept of a food desert. American markets are food desert, you know. It's full of UPF, ultra processed food. But, you know, we also have diversity of material now, you know. Where has nutrition gone? 200, 150 years ago, there were no, there was absence of fridge. You know, you didn't get green vegetables throughout the year. You didn't get fruits throughout the year. You were not getting stuff throughout the year. Now you have availability of all the nutrient-rich food throughout the year, complex carbohydrate. You know, area where rice would grow, the wheat will not be available. Where the millet would grow, the rice would not be available. So despite the availability of all those things, how come our diet, why has our diet become nutrition poor, nutrients poor?
Adding on to Dr. Rahul's point, what is happening is the sedentary lifestyle is like very much there. Physical activity is not there, and people want easy to make and ready to eat foods. So because of which the deficiency, nutritional deficiency is at hike. In fact, the people who come to me, the very simple statement which is given to me is, Gitika, please give diet which can be made fast. We don't have time to cook. So because of which the deficiencies are there. And adding to the question you asked was, physical activity is one of the major reasons.
You said time to cook. So you are saying that cooking quickly destroys nutrient value of food, slow cooking is better?
No, because people don't want to make effort. Earlier, dal chawal was made at home. People wanted to make food. They wanted to give time in cooking. But now people want to make a quick fix food making. They don't want to make the food. Issue is that the cooking time is very less now.
So does it affect nutrition? Can it affect diabetes?
Definitely yes, because when obesity level will increase. So obviously the insulin is spiking up. When the insulin
But
level goes up,
you're a nutrition. Can you you know, generally dal, chawal, sabzi, supposed to be like mother's food, you know. What will you have when you come home? Dal, chawal, sabzi. Okay, what will you have? Rajma chawal. Okay, what will you have? Okay, kadhi chawal. I mean, that's a basic Indian food. A lot of people would have marry meat to it, fish to it, chicken to it, konkan. But rice would be there. We are a curry country. Rice would be there or chapati would be there. So what Dr. Rahul was saying that, you know, carbohydrate overloading, how do people with pre-diabetes deal with that? Who are vegetarians, they don't want to eat meat, what should they be doing?
so instead of normal roti, they can have ragi, jowar, bajra. So millets can be included in the diet. Instead of taking normal rice, so millets can be included, like little millets, foxtails can be included. Instead of taking simple chawal or simple boiled rice or simple rice, soya bean can be put. Lot of veggies can be chopped and added. A few cubes of paneer can be added. If you're making poha at home, you can put peanuts, you can put sprouts, again lot of vegetables. So healthy cooking has to be done. A combination. Suppose if I'm back home and I want to have a burger, so a burger can be made in an easy form, like a whole wheat burger can be picked up from outside, and I will prefer, maybe I can soak lentils like black chanas, white chanas, and rajma, and I can just soak it overnight and make a nice kebab with besan and chopped vegetables, and it comes out so well. So this will be a nutritious, high protein and a low carb, high fiber meal. Maybe a pav bhaji can be made with lot of veggies, little less potatoes, and whole wheat burgers. So same way, like rainy season is there, so maybe pakoras can be made, like, and then a thin slice of paneer can be sliced in between, can be had. So when we basically chop down the tofu level, tofu is basically you are fat from fat from inside, and you're thin from outside. The visceral fat which we're talking about, that's increasing. That means the obesity level is increasing. So I think when we put down the obesity level with right eating, right protein, right amount of sleeping, and stress should be less smoking, less alcohol, and physical activity, maybe 150 minutes or walk per week. When we include all these high hydration levels, when we do all these parameters are taken care of, then automatically obesity will go down and diabetic level, the insulin spike will be less. And
Or doctor, okay, Dr. Meenakshi, is it also because of the fact, I would like to just keep it on the food right now, because the peg of my conversation was lack of fruits and complex carbohydrates. Is it also because of the fact that diabetes is spreading so fast that we are continuously eating, we're just eating? I'm sure there is no stop in between. I'm sure we have a breakfast, then we eat something, then we eat again, then we have our lunch, and then we a little bit of post lunch, and then we have some tea, and then we have dinner, and then we have something after dinner. We're continuously making our pancreas work.
Yeah, very right. We are continuously in a postprandial state. We are continuously in a fed state. See, whenever body metabolism is there, we want something body to come in a fasting stage as well. But with this continuous feeding ourselves every time, the body is always in a hyperglycemic state. The body's levels of blood sugars are always high. But for the body's good metabolism, for the liver fat to be metabolized into the blood, we need some kind of fasting stage also.
Yes.
If only we are fasting, or if we are eating 2 healthy meals a day, rather than continuously eating all the time, that would be far more beneficial for the body. And if we are giving a long break, like if we are eating before sunset and next day we are eating little late, so we'll have a intermittent fasting kind of a thing.
Does
So
it really work, madam? A lot of people say intermittent fasting can impact your heart.
So it should not be very long fasting, and if you have a heart disease, you should take care. So everything has to be done in consult with the doctor. But what I mean to say that you are continuously eating at night, which is
I agree.
supposed to fasting state. At least 8 hours of fasting should be there.
What should be the madam? What should be the breakfast? Suppose we generally people eat 3 meals a day, madam. Very few people would do 2 meals a day, unless and until they are tied to the agricultural cycle. एक मील दूसरे मील में कितना फर्क होना चाहिए मिनिमम आपके हिसाब से, डॉक्टर मीनाक्षी?
At least minimum for us gap should be there. Like if you are doing breakfast, lunch, and dinner and evening tea, minimum 4 hours of gap should be there. So you should not be eating too much meal. It adds to the calorie. Not too much meal at frequent time. If you are eating small meals at small intervals, that's also fine because there is not too much of carbohydrate load. So according to your body, you can plan what kind of a food and how frequently. But it should not be that you are continuously eating throughout the day and you are eating at night as well. So there are people who are eating at 2 a.m. There are people who are eating at 12 midnight. So that kind of eating must be avoided. So no, it should not be any eating between 10 p.m. and maybe next day 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. So at least 8 hours of rest to the body when you are not eating anything must be given.
So basically, fruit is not the culprit, or the complex carbohydrate is not the culprit. It's overloading of our system with ultra processed food is the culprit. Constantly eating is the culprit, Having too much of the refined thing is the culprit. I think.
Very right. Fruit is not so bad. That's what I want to emphasize. Just that diabetics should take care that they are not eating a high glycemic index food. But fruit like guava, as I told you, there are fruits which are very good for the diabetes, and fruits must be included because otherwise they develop plenty of deficiency which exacerbate diabetes. And fruits are very important for prevention of diabetes as well. So till the time you are having diabetes or you are healthy, you must eat fruit. Even when you are diabetic, you must include fruit as a part of the meal. When you are eating a plate, a thali, 50% of the thali should be salad or little fruit. You should not be only eating fruit, but you should have some fruit in as a part of the thali.
Okay. Okay. Let me take a closing comment from Rahul. Rahul, what about the rise of oil which Prime Minister Modi had been talking about? कि खूब तेल जा रहा है diet में हमारे.
So if you look at the type of oil that we are using, the most commonly used oil in outside restaurants is the refined oil. But we as doctors, we prefer that you either use simple plain सरसों का तेल, जो मैं अपने patients को बोलता हूँ, either try to use सरसों का तेल or olive oil if you can. So other than that, this refined oil is another reason for this high fat, salt and sugar food, for increased calorie density of the food, for increased visceral fat. This is also the major driver of this visceral fat also. But on a closing note, I would like to say that every colorful fruit that is available in the market, any patient can have any type of fruit, one fruit per day, and they should have it. That this should be an end note from my side.
Dr. Geetika, one fruit per day, one apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah, one fruit per day. And I'll give you an anti-spike powder, which I think everyone should take so that the insulin doesn't spike up. So maybe you can take 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, dalchini powder. Then you can take husk, the psyllium husk, isabgol, 1 teaspoon that can be taken. And then with that, you have to take flax seeds. Just roast it, ground. Just roast it and just make a paste. And you can put it in your curd,
Okay.
put it in your water. And before the meal, if you take it, the insulin spike won't happen. Plus, the feeling of satiation will be there.
Okay.
So it will keep the obesity level also low.
Okay, thank you all for joining me. And for my viewers, the import of this conversation was that balanced diet is important. Nothing is a villain. Food is not the villain. Complex carbohydrate is not the villain. The meat is not the villain. It's the wrong composition that is the villain. So have your fruit and prevent diabetes.